The orphan of Valence Station there on Valence Station always smelled like metal and mold, but to the girl named Silai, it was the scent of home. She had never known anything else. Her parents had vanished in the last food riots, and since then, she had lived among the broken walls and flickering lights of Section D, a place where forgotten aliens, orphans, and drifters clung to life. Silai was one of the Villani, a quiet race with soft skin like bark and glowing silver eyes. Her fingers were long, perfect for fixing tiny machines, which she did for scraps. Her stomach growled more than it rested, but that day, something was different. At the station trembled, not from gunfire, or gas leaks, or even a structural failure. This tremble was different, deep, silent, like the whole station had just swallowed. A secret. Silai, I felt it in her bones. Everyone down to level 7, shouted a loud, rusted voice from the station's old speakers. Incoming vessel, unknown origin, not registered. Not friendly. People began to run. Not because of the warning, but because they knew how warnings worked here. When something was not friendly, it meant another pirate crew or slaver ship had come to take what little they had left. Silai, I ducked behind a cargo crate, gripping a small screwdriver she used as a weapon. She hated how her hands shook. But then the noise came, not screaming, not gunfire. Silence. A new kind of silence. Heavy, clean, deliberate. A ship docked, one that didn't scream when it moved, didn't flash with warning lights, didn't leak smoke or sparks. It was smooth, black, shaped like a wing folded in prayer. Its surface shimmered with light that moved like water. Everyone froze. Then the ramp opened. A figure stepped out. Tall. 2 legs. 2 arms. Armor made of something strange, not metal. Not cloth, something between. His face was covered, but his body moved like he carried sorrow, not weapons. Slowly. Carefully. Every step meant something. Silai whispered to herself, a human. She had only heard stories. Humans were rare. Some said they were a myth. Others said they were cursed. In the old legends passed through whispers and maintenance tunnels, humans were monsters of war and kindness, creatures who could burn worlds or heal them. This one didn't bring an army. He brought a bag of medical supplies. Is anyone injured? The human said, his voice quiet, low, but clear in every ear as if it traveled through the metal itself. No one answered. No one moved. So he bent down beside a wounded trader with leaking cybernetic eyes and stitched them shut with soft glowing thread. He gave a child water from a clear bottle that looked like crystal and tasted like snow. When he looked at Silai, she froze. His helmet hissed and retracted halfway, revealing a tired face with a scar across one cheek and eyes that seemed older. Then stars. Are you alone? He asked her gently. Silai nodded. So am I, he said, but we don't have to be. He stretched out his hand. It was strong, but not threatening. It trembled a little, like hers. Silai reached out slowly, unsure why she was doing it. But something about him made her feel like she wasn't invisible anymore, and when their fingers touched, the whole station seemed to breathe for the first time in years. That night, Silai sat with him beside the dim generator lights and asked, "Why did you come here?" "No one comes here. No one cares." The human looked up at the broken ceiling, where stars couldn't be seen. "Because the galaxy forgets people like you," he said. "But I don't." There was something strange in his voice. Something heavy. Like he carried the memory of 1,000 lost faces. Like he had seen too many wars. Like he had once been forgotten too. Silai, I felt her throat tighten. This was not a soldier, not a savior, not a hero from legend. This was a human. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel alone. The spark beneath the Rust Valence station had never been this quiet, not even during power failures or plague. Lockdowns had silenced fallen so completely. It wasn't the quiet of fear, it was the quiet of something new. Something no one dared. Name yet. The human, who told Silai his name was Leif, had started cleaning the old medbay on level 4. No one had touched it in years. Mold grew like vines across the walls, and the air recycler coughed more than it worked. But Leif didn't complain. He worked. Slow, steady, alone. Sometimes Silai sat nearby, pretending to fix wires or check vents, but mostly she just watched him. Not because he scared her, but because he didn't. He moved like someone who had lived in places far worse than this. One morning, she asked him, "Why do you fix things?" Leif glanced up from a shattered medical scanner, its guts spread out. "Like broken bones, because it means something was worth saving," he said, softly. Silai, I didn't understand then. Not fully. But she remembered those words. The others on the station began to notice. At first, they kept their distance, but then old Mara came with a broken breathing unit. Leif fixed it. A boy with a shattered wrist got a splint and pain relief. Even the violent ones stayed quiet when he passed, like they could sense something different in his silence. But trouble wasn't far. Trouble never was on Valen Station. A slaver ship called the Gouger's Eye docked without warning. Its captain, a red-scaled Balgrin named Varuan, had visited before. He always took two things: people and metal. Sometimes he paid. Sometimes he didn single quotes t.sila. I had hidden every time he came. But this time, she didn't run. This time, Leif stood near the docks, watching the slavers unload with cold, still eyes. Varuan laughed when he saw him. "You think you can stop me, little human? You've got no army, no allies, no guns." Leif didn't move. "I'm not here to fight," he said. Varuan growled. "Then get out of my way." "These people don't belong to you," Leif said. His voice didn't rise. But it cut. Like it had weight. Like it wasn't just sound, it was a command written in blood. Silai, hiding behind a pillar, held her breath. Her heart pounded. Varuan moved to shove Leif aside, but the moment his hand touched the human shoulder, something flashed. Not a weapon. Not violence. A light. Bright, ancient. It pulsed from beneath Leif's skin, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to flesh and bone. Symbols glowed across his arm. Old, not human, not alien. Something lost in time. The slavers stopped. They felt it, the way a predator feels when it realizes it's not the strongest thing in the room anymore. Varuan backed away, snarling. What are you?" Leif didn't answer. He just stepped forward. Varuan hissed and ordered his crew to retreat. They left. Without taking anyone. Without firing a single shot. The station buzzed with whispers that night. Rumors. Stories. He's not just human. He's something more. A weapon. A ghost. A guardian. But Silai didn't ask. She only sat beside Leif again. In the medbay, he looked tired. Not in his body, in his soul. She wanted to ask what the light was, but instead she whispered, "You didn't have to protect us." Leif looked at her, and for the first time, she saw fear in his eyes. "I did," he said, "because I promised I would never let anyone be taken again." Silai didn't ask who he'd failed before. She only said, "Then you're not alone anymore." Outside, the station lights flickered, and somewhere deep in the walls, old sensors began to power up. Ones that hadn't moved in decades. As if something ancient had seen the glow in Leif's arm and recognized him. Whispers in the dark systems. 3 days after the slavers fled, the power grid on Valen Station surged. For the first time in years, lights came on in the forgotten wings. Sealed doors groaned open. Old security cameras blinked awake, shaking off layers of dust and memory. Silai watched as monitors flickered to life across the station, showing hallways that Hadn't been seen in decades. It felt like the station was waking up. Leif didn't say anything about it. He only nodded when Silai showed him. His face looked calm, but his fingers twitched at his side, like he was remembering something painful. You knew this would happen, Silai said quietly. Leif looked away. I didn't want it to happen. News began to spread. Not just on Valen but through the outer fringe systems. A signal had gone out, one that hadn't been heard in over 100 years. It was old tech, buried deep inside the station's core, built during the War of Last Contact. A war the galaxy tried to erase. A war that had once nearly broken the stars apart. The signal carried no words, just a pulse. A rhythm, a call to something ancient. And someone heard it. On a distant world of black ice and purple storms, a command ship stirred. Its crew, pale and tall, wore robes instead of armor. Their eyes were sharp and empty of emotion. The leader stood before a large screen where the signal blinked like a heartbeat. Confirmed, said a voice. The artifact is active. The leader's face stayed still. Prepare the seeker fleet. Yes, Elder. And bring the nullifier. If the human lives, he must not reach the core. Back on Valen, Silai walked through one of the newly open tunnels. Old graffiti covered the walls. Symbols from forgotten languages. Bloodstains that had turned black with age. The lights buzzed faintly. Her breath echoed in the stillness. She found something strange, an old door sealed with a hand scanner. But not a normal one. This one looked almost human. She placed her hand on it. Nothing happened. Later, she brought Leif. He stared at the scanner for a long time. This shouldn't be here, he whispered. Why? Silai asked. Because I helped build it, he said, his voice barely above a breath. He placed his hand on the scanner. The door opened. Beyond it, they found a room untouched by time. Smooth metal. Soft lights. A circle of chairs and a central column filled with flickering lights. This is an arc chamber, Leif said. Silai didn't understand. The humans built these after the war, he explained. A place to hide knowledge, memory, things the galaxy wanted to forget. We sealed them, buried them. But I never knew one survived. Silai stepped closer to the column. Inside, a soft glow pulsed. It felt warm, familiar, like the heartbeat of someone she had never met but missed terribly. Then the lights shifted. A voice filled the room. A recording. A woman's voice. Strong, kind, and human. If you're hearing this, then the shield has fallen, and you are not alone. Leif's face turned white. Silai, I touched his arm. Who is she? She asked. His voice cracked. My sister. Outside the chamber, deep in the system, the stars blinked as dark ships moved closer, silent, patient. The seeker fleet was coming. They had one mission. End the light before it woke the rest. Names buried in Ashley couldn't sleep. The station felt heavier now. Not broken like before, but watchful. Like something deep inside its walls had opened one eye and was waiting to see what Leif would do next. She sat outside the arc chamber, staring at the soft glow still spilling from its door. Inside, Leif stood frozen in front of the voice recorder, as if hearing his sister's words had pulled him into a memory. He couldn't escape. The voice kept repeating every few minutes. If you're hearing this, then the shield has fallen, and you are not alone. Finally, Leif stepped out. His face was pale, his jaw tight. Silai stood. Who was she? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, her name was Maya Soren. She helped design the ARC program. We worked together to protect the knowledge of the last war. But she stayed behind when the final ARC launched. She volunteered to lock this station from the inside. Silai blinked. Why would she do that? Leif's eyes burned with something sharp pain mixed with guilt. Because I asked her to. Hours later, the station shook again, not from within but from outside. A shadow passed over the upper windows. A fleet. Ships darker than space. Tall, sharp like spears. They didn't broadcast a signal, didn't hail, didn't threaten. They just waited. On the command deck of the seeker ship, the elder known as Kalen watched the station through a silent screen. One human, he said to his second. And yet, the signal burns. The second gave a slight nod. His presence means the Ark has responded. He must be destroyed before it wakes further. Kellen's hand hovered over a black sphere that pulsed with red energy. Send the nullifier. Inside the station, alarm screamed. Leif single quotes S voice boomed across every hallway. Stronger than before. Everyone to shelter. Now, level 6 and lower. Seal the blast doors. Silai ran beside him. What is it? A null-fire cannon, Leif said. Teeth clenched. Anti-conscious weapon. It erases memory, identity. Sometimes even soul. The Elder fleets used them during the last war to destroy resistance without leaving bodies. Silai felt her legs go weak. How do we stop it? We don't. He said, we survive it. They rushed to the Ark chamber. Inside, Leif slammed his hand onto the console. Lines of blue light burst across the floor. A shield began to rise around the walls. Thick, ancient, far older than anything else on the station. Outside, the nullifier exploded against the upper levels. Where light once flickered, nothing remained. Silence poured through shattered metal. Rooms went dark. Names were lost. Entire sections of the station became blank spaces, like they had never existed. Inside the Ark chamber, Silai collapsed to her knees. She felt something inside her head, pulling. Like her thoughts were being untied, one by one. Leif knelt beside her, pressing a glowing device to her temple. Stay with me, he whispered. Don't forget. Please, not you. His voice broke. He touched his forehead to hers. Remember your name, remember who you are. The light from his arm flared, sending a wave through the room. The Ark responded. The lights rose. A shield within the shield snapped into place. And the pulling stopped. Silai, I gasped. Her memory held. Her name stayed, but tears filled her eyes. They're gone, aren't they? She whispered. Leif nodded slowly. The upper levels, everyone who wasn't below the blast doors. He couldn't finish. The silence finished. For him. Hours passed. Then, through the console, a new voice crackled. A different message. Ark Relay Omega 2 online. Do you wish to begin uplink? Leif stared at it, stunned. This means another Ark is active. Somewhere else. Alive. Silai blinked through her tears. You're not the only one left? Leif swallowed. Hard. No, not anymore. But before hope could rise, a new sound echoed through the dark. Metal. Boots. Not from above. From within the station. Someone had boarded during the attack. And they weren't running. They were hunting. The human with the burning arm. The lights in the Ark chamber flickered again. But this time, not from power loss. Something was moving in the lower levels. Something alive. Silai could hear it through the walls. Not the scraping of rats or the hiss of broken pipes. This was the heavy thump of boots, slow and steady, echoing like a countdown. Leif turned off the main console and whispered, they're inside. Silai's breath caught. But how? The doors weren't enough, he said. They must have sent a Darkpath unit during the nullifier wave. While everyone panicked, they walked in. Darkpath soldiers weren't like the others. They were trained to move without being seen, to kill without sound, and worse, they didn't forget. Not even the nullifier could wipe their minds. They were the guardians of silence, the destroyers of memory. Wherever they walked, history vanished behind them. And now, they were hunting him. We can't fight them, Silai whispered. Leif nodded. Not directly. His fingers moved quickly over the console, tapping into old vent maps, hidden tunnels, emergency access routes. Some were barely wide enough to crawl through, some had collapsed over the years, but Leif knew every corner. Like he'd been here before. Like he'd built it. They moved fast. Down dark shafts. Through vents coated in dust thick enough to choke. Silai's chest burned as they crawled. Hands scraped, knees bruised, every breath tasting of rust. Behind them, the boots never stopped. Always. 2 levels behind. Never more. Never less. They reached a sealed chamber at the edge of the reactor ring. An old monitoring room, half collapsed, half forgotten. Leif sealed the door. Inside was a round device, locked in stasis. It looked like a black egg, covered in deep red lines. Leif stared at it, then reached for the lock. What is that? Silai asked. Our last chance, he said. He cracked it open. Inside was a pulse core, an ancient human device used only once during the final days of the war. Not a weapon in the traditional sense. It didn't explode. It spoke. Not with words. With truth. The pulse core was designed to release memories, millions of them, into the minds of anyone nearby. Memories of the war. Of what the Elder Fleet did, of what was buried, of what was lost. Truth was dangerous. Truth could break armies. You're going to release it? Silai asked. Leif nodded. If they want to erase what we are, we'll remind them instead. He pressed his hand to the core. It pulsed. Once. Twice. Then it began to hum. The air thickened. The walls seemed to vibrate with something ancient. And then the doors shattered. Dark Path soldiers stepped in. Tall, armored, masks with no eyes, hands glowing with null blades, silent, patient. The leader raised his hand to strike, but before he could move, the core spoke. Not with a sound, but with memory. Suddenly the room was full, not with people, but with visions. Screams. Fields of fire. Stars torn open by ships with human banners. Elder fleets. Burning colonies of the weak. Humans falling to protect strangers. Children hiding in metal boxes. Maya Soren, standing at a console, whispering goodbye as she sealed Valen Station for the last time. The Dark Path soldiers staggered, their minds flooded. One dropped his weapon and fell to his knees. Another screamed a dry, broken sound and fled. Only one remained standing. The leader. He didn't flinch. Instead, he raised a weapon toward Leif, but Silai moved first. She jumped in front of Leif, hands out, body trembling. Stop! She shouted. The leader hesitated. Silai's skin began to glow, not like Leif's. Different. Softer. Blue. Leif gasped. You, Silai? You've been changed. She looked down at her hands. The pulse core had touched her too. Her mind held the truth, but instead of breaking her, it had awakened something. Maybe the station had chosen her. Maybe the ark had marked her. Maybe it was because her heart had never stopped hoping. Even in the worst places. The Dark Path leader lowered his weapon slowly. Then turned and walked away. The room fell silent. The pulse core dimmed. Hours later, the other survivors emerged from the lower levels. They found Leif and Silai standing near the central reactor. Alive. Together. And behind them, the arc chamber glowing again, this time with a new symbol. Not just human, not just VEYLA and I. A shared mark. A bond. What does it mean? Silai asked quietly. Leif looked at her with tired eyes. It means the galaxy might forget us, he said, but we're going to remind them who we are. The second arc waxed sky above Valen Station burned red and gold as the broken system's dying star sent one last solar wave through space. Though the fire didn't reach them, everyone inside could feel the heat heavy and strange, like the sun was watching. Silai stood on the outer catwalk, wind pressing against her skin from a torn vent nearby. Below her, the station surface still smoked from the null fire strike. Entire wings remained silent, erased. Whole rooms filled with memories now gone. But Silai remembered, and so did Leif. And now, so did others. The pulse core had spread its truth. Not far, but far enough. Enough for people to whisper again. Enough for something buried to wake. Inside the arc chamber, Leif stared at a new signal flashing across the console. Arc relay Omega-2- confirmed. Transmission received. Verification code Maya-SOREN-Mark-9. Double quotes. He whispered her name like a prayer. Then he ran his hand across the console and activated the link. A hologram flickered to life. Not a memory this time. A face. Young, tired, messy. Hair, brown skin with freckles. A girl. Human. And alive. Is this? She blinked, then gasped. Is this Arc 7? Leif's voice caught in his throat. No, this is Arc 1. Valen Station. Her eyes widened. Arc 1 still exists? Barely, he said. I stepped into view. The girl on the screen looked surprised. You're not human. Silai lifted her chin. No. But I remember more than most humans ever did. The girl's name was Ellie. She was born inside Arc 2. She had never seen the stars. Outside. Never stepped on a world. Never known life without metal walls. Filtered water and artificial sunrises, but she knew one thing. Something had called her. Arc to wake. It wasn't supposed to happen, she said. Our systems only activate if a truth pulse hits at least 4 nearby systems. That means, Leif nodded. It means the silence is cracking. Ellie leaned forward. How many are left? How many humans? Leif's eyes went dark. Too few, she frowned. Then we need to find the others. For the next few hours, Silai watched Leif like she was seeing him for the first time. His movements had changed, more focused, more alive. As if something inside him had stopped breaking and started building again. For years, he had carried the guilt of his sister's sacrifice, of the war, of being the last. But now he wasn't alone, and neither was Silai. News began to move again. Across hidden trade routes. Through broken satellites. On abandoned worlds where refugees whispered in alleys and caves. The Arc humans are returning. The truth is coming back. The silence is ending. But not everyone welcomed it. In the core systems of the Elder Fleet, the High Tribunal gathered. 10 robed figures. No faces shown. Each voice processed through ancient machines. To sound like one, Arc 1 is active. The truth weapon has been used. The human Leif Soren must be destroyed. A single voice broke the pattern, but the truth is already spreading. We cannot erase it again, not like before. Then we silence him, permanently. They ordered the forgeborn. Machines made from stardust and war logic, undefeated in battle. No memory to overwrite. No soul to stir. Just mission. Meanwhile, on Valen, Leif and Silai prepared for the journey. We're leaving? Silai asked. Leif nodded. The second arc confirmed coordinates of an old star bridge. It's unstable, but it can carry us across 12 systems in one jump. If other arcs are out there, we need to reach them. And the station? Will leave the core running. If someone comes looking for truth, they'll find it here. She hesitated. What if they come looking for us instead? He looked at her gently. Then they'll find you. And you're stronger than any truth I ever carried. Sulla's eyes filled, but she didn't cry. She just smiled. As their ship old, patched, held together by memories and hope, lifted from the ruined dock. The station lights blinked twice. Once for goodbye. Once for remember. Leif set a course. Silai took the co-pilot seat. Are you ready? He asked. She looked out at the stars, cold, bright, waiting. I've never been, she said, but I'm going anyway. In the darkness of deep space, far ahead of them, something vast began to stir. Metal bigger than planets, engines older than time, eyes that had not opened in 1,000 years. The forgeborn were waking, and their orders were simple. End the human with the burning arm. Bring them home. Journey through the star bridge was not gentle. As Leif's ship entered the ancient tunnel of broken light and folded gravity, Silai felt her heart twist. Not from fear, but from something deeper, like the universe was pulling apart every thread of who she was, testing if she deserved to pass through. Leif's hands never left the controls. His eyes stared forward, locked on the flickering path. Every now and then, he whispered something under his breath. Not prayers. Not commands. Just names. Maya, Ellie, Silai. Earth. When they came out the other side, silence greeted them. Not the silence of death, the silence of waiting. In front of them floated something larger than any station, any ship, any city. It was Arc 13. A world-sized structure hidden in the black fold of space. Its shape was not meant to be beautiful, but it was. Not because of its design, but because of what it represented. A promise never fully broken, a memory not yet erased, and it was waking. They're calling us in, Leif said. Automatic guidance is online. Silai stared at the glowing rings of the arc as they spun slowly, like a heartbeat made of stars. How many are in there? I don't know, he answered. But if Arc 13 is alive, then the silence has already lost. They docked. The airlock opened. And Silai took her first step into a place built by humans for others. Not to conquer, not to hide, but to remember. And to heal. A council greeted them. Not of elders. Not of soldiers. Of survivors. Some were human. Some were not. Some had forgotten who they once were until the pulse reached them. They welcomed Silai and Leif like kin long lost. They knew his name. They had heard it whispered between satellites and crumbling comets. The human with the burning arm. The keeper of truth. Leif bowed his head. I didn't come to lead, he said. I came to warn. They listened. As he told them about the forgeborn. About the null-fire. About the coming storm. Silai. I stood beside him the entire time, never once looking away. When he finished, a silence followed. Then the leader of the council, a gentle-eyed being with wings made of crystal, spoke. You didn't come to lead, she said softly, but you did, not with orders, not with power, with memory, with love, with truth. Leif shook his head. I only survived. Silai touched his arm. No, she said quietly. You remembered. And you helped me remember, too. Far behind them, in the shadows of forgotten systems, the forgeborn crossed into known space. A wave of unfeeling precision. No hunger. No hate. Just the final order. But they were not met with fear. They were met with truth. Arc 13 sent a signal stronger than the pulse core. It reached deep into every arc, still hiding. Every station still listening. Every being who had ever doubted that the silence could be broken, they answered. Some with weapons. Some with words. Some with memory. And when the forgeborn arrived, they felt it. Not pain. Not resistance, but something they had no command for. Remembrance. They had no code for forgiveness. No update for love. No firewall against hope. And so, for the first time, they hesitated. And in that hesitation humanity rose again. Not as conquerors. Not as saviors. But as friends. As family. As proof that the stars could forget. But the heart would always remember. Leif stood on the bridge of Arc 13. Silai beside him, watching the lights spread across the void. Arc 2 lit up. Then Arc 5. Then Arc 9. Then other stations. Ships, even broken colonies long thought. Dead. Each one choosing to speak. To share. To belong. It's beginning, Silai whispered. Leif nodded, voice low. No more silence. She looked at him. He looked at her. And for the first time in either of their lives, they knew what home felt like. In the heart of the ark, a small screen blinked. Memory restored. Connection complete. Welcome home. Leif SOREN. Welcome home. Silai of VEYL and humanity remembered. The galaxy healed.